Hey, this is WhyBeAre with Automation, the car company Tycoon game, and today we're going to be making a muscle car in the year 1975, which is a terrible, terrible time to make a muscle car, if I was to be honest, because this is the time where leaded fuel was replaced with unleaded fuel, so engine output went down. There were new safety requirements. That means you had to have a lot of changes to cars that made them a lot uglier with all the new bumpers and stuff that were required. And then you had insurance companies catching on that muscle cars were death traps, and insurance premiums went up on them, so they kind of became unaffordable to the masses, and it was just generally a terrible time to be having a muscle car. But our company, WhyBeAre Cars Incorporated, don't care. We've been making this muscle car for over 5 years, and this is the last model year, and we wanted to go out with somewhat of a bang. It's going to be hard to make it match some of the older ones that use leaded fuel, but the company will do its best to do that. So we're going to start off by going at this front bumper it's not the bumper, the front lip of the hood, and we're going to figure out what angle we want this hood to be. And I don't want it to be like that because it's like I put headlights on it and the headlights just point straight to the ground. It's like, oh yeah, I can see 10 feet in front of me and my headlights, that's all they do. That looks dumb. So I'll probably keep it about what it was. In fact, I like the way it was so much that I'm just gonna, just like that. And I looked through the bodies already, by the way. That's the only one that kind of fits the story I was giving you. The other ones just, they don't say muscle car. That's just kind of being dated and stuff in 1975 like this one does. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to keep that front just like the way it is. Next up is this wheel arch, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I want it to be just big enough to fit a bigger tire, but not bulging out ridiculously. So that right there is pretty good at that. And then I'll match the rears to kind of have the same style. So we want just a little bit of a bulge. Like you can just notice just barely is a little bit of a extra space for a tire. And same over here, just a little bit. So that should be good. And then we're going to come over here. And I like the small window, so I'm going to do that. We got this. That is a huge engine bay. And that is a weird looking car, period. So I don't want to do that. I'll do something just, I'll do like that because I like the way this line kind of looks nice and fluid and makes the door look cool. So we'll do that. Trunk. I want a small trunk. Very tiny trunk. And then, what do I want this area to look like? That looks weird. That window is too small, so we'll have it maybe about like that. And then extend that out to make it look a little nicer. Kind of a different looking muscle car than I was expecting, but it'll work. That looks like a pretty good body style to start with. I had no issues with it, so let's go ahead and start doing some other things. So next thing is chassis. We're going to do a monocoque or ladder. I mean, I could kind of go either way. If I really wanted to, you could say these cars were monocoque. I mean, I'm sure some manufacturer had some that were monocoque. So I'm going to do it. You can't tell me what to do. We're going monocoque chassis. And then material, just going to be normal steel, saving money. Engine placement has to be front longitudinal. You can't have a front-wheel drive muscle car. That's just ridiculous. Front suspension is going to be as cheap as possible. Just going to be normal McPherson struts. And then the rear suspension, solid axle coil. So it's not a car that's made to really go around a corner. It's a car that's made to go in a straight line really fast. Because, you know, a lot of the time muscle cars were just normal cars that were made to go fast. And again, panel material, just steel. On to the next one, which is the design, which is the part that I'm not very good at. So I want circular headlights. I don't know if I want those ones or those ones. So let me put both on the car and see which ones look better. Make them a little bigger. So we have that versus that. And those ones look unusual. So I'm going to go with those ones. So that's the headlights we'll have. I'll go ahead and line it up over here on the edge of the car. And for some reason, I'm thinking, what does a muscle car headlight look like? It needs double headlights. That's what my mind is telling me. I don't know how correct that is, but that's what it's saying. You need to put more headlights. A little smaller to try to make it match as close as I can. Tiny bit more. That looks pretty close. There you go. That looks terrible. Let's throw a grill on it. That'll probably save it. Grills are the saving things, man. They make any terrible car design look a lot better. So I'm just going to grab a square grill, extend it out all the way to the edges, and then make it a little bit bigger so we cover up that whole front area and encase the lights like so. And a little bit bigger. Can I make it a little bit bigger? There we go. And bring it just a little bit up, and then a little bit bigger again. And then those headlights are a little off, so we can just raise them just a bit. There we go. A little bit more. Perfect and perfect. Yeah, that saved it actually. That looks all right. Let's go ahead and throw a badge on the front. These are the flying wing badges because that's the one I usually like to use. You can make it pretty big. It's a proud car. It has a big badge. Really big. Yeah, like that. Proud car. Alright, so we did headlights. Do you want anything down here? I don't know. I mean, we could throw a lip on it, see what it looks like, but I don't think it'll work out. I think it'll look funny. Alright, so you can say, you know what, for the last model year of the car, the designer said, hey, look, we could add a lip to it and increase the aerodynamics and improve the vehicle. So this is like a very special car because it has a lip. It may not exactly look good, but it's the designer strapping things to a car to make it better. I mean, the engineers strapping things to a car to make it better. The designers are freaking out like, no, we can't have a lip here. The engineers are like, we need this lip. We gotta go fast. So that's the story for the lip. See, I like adding stories to things like this. So we'll just throw a quick indicator right here. That should be good for that. Just something nice and simple. Or do I want it back more? Let's move it a little bit more back, like right. Nah, it's actually good right there. I'll leave it right there. It's fine. Maybe a little bigger. Just a bit. There we go. Perfect. All right, so next up is taillights. And I know I skipped them earlier because I'm dreading doing taillights because I'm so bad at it. All right, let's keep it simple. We're just going to say boom, and then boom, and we're going to throw 2 of these on the back. And that's it. Like, that's taillights. We're done. Do I want them lined up with the trunk line, or do I want them with the body? I think trunk line might work okay, but let's throw another grill on the back, and it's going to be the same grill we used before. Whoops. How did I get to lights? I don't even... Whatever. Grill. And we want the same exact rectangular grill on the back to just give this back end a little bit more of a variety to it in terms of looks. I think it'll help a lot. And a little too big of a grill right there. Right? Yeah, that looks a little ridiculous, so make it a little smaller. Bring it down as much as possible. And that looks okay. And then we just got to fit the taillights in it properly. So we go like this. It's a little bit bigger. And about right there. That looks decent, actually. I don't know what muscle car this is supposed to be, by the way. I'm just throwing parts together that make me think muscle car when I see it. Like, if I look at these lights and they make me think muscle car, they're going on the car. I don't know if it's Ford muscle car taillights that I'm thinking of, or Chevy, or Chrysler, Dodge. I don't know. I'm just throwing on what I think looks good as a part by itself. It might not match up with the car, but and that's a bad habit I have. Like, I know I do that. Alright, so for vents, really, I don't really know of a place where you'd put vents on a muscle car. They don't usually have vents, so we'll ignore that. And wings. The only real muscle cars with wings are things like the Superbird and all that. I mean, I could probably throw a wing on it and call it the something like that, but I don't know. That wing's kind of small, isn't it? We need a bigger wing. This is all right. Let's go back to the stupid engineers who say we need a wing on the car for downforce, and then the designers are like, no, it'll look terrible, and it'll block the trunk, and then they're like, I don't care, we need it. We're engineers. You don't. What do you know? So now it has a wing. Nah, you know what? No, that looks terrible. The lip, it looked okay. Like, it kind of looked like it was actually like trying to modernize the car, kind of. Plus, it gives some aerodynamics to it. The wing just looks ridiculous. Maybe if I had like a tiny little spoiler instead of a giant wing, that might look a little bit better. Just a small trunk spoiler. So like this. Does that look a little better? Yeah, I'm not really feeling it. It's not right. No. Forget it. We don't need a wing or a spoiler. Either one of them. Handle. Oh no. I don't know what kind of handle a muscle car would have. I never really thought about that. I have never opened the door to a muscle car, so it's hard for me to say what would go here. So I'm just going to pick one. I'm just going to say, yeah, you look great. I want one with chrome, that's for sure. Chrome. Chrome. And then big beefy American hands. You gotta be able to fit those. Actually, that's a weird shape. Scratch that. I know that one is definitely not the right one to use. That's all I can say for certain. That one just seems off. Let's just start with the, no, that doesn't have a chrome. I want chrome. Chrome. How about that? That has chrome built in. So you can just go boom. And a little bit bigger for beefy American hands. And that looks pretty good. I don't know why I like having big handles. It just looks a little bit better to me. Alright, and oh, on the back, we need another, where is the stinking thing I'm thinking of? No, I'm just, badges. I didn't even look that far. I thought that was I don't know what I'm doing, dude. For some reason, I just didn't look that far. Anyways, nice big proud badge on the back. So we got the handles, now the bonnet. I'm going to do my favorite thing to do to the bonnet, which is just strap on something like this and then make it huge so it gives like just a general bigger hood feel to it. You know, muscle car, last generation, the engineer said, here's a bigger hood. We can fit more engine now. And everybody celebrated because now, instead of a push rod, we can maybe fit like a direct acting overhead cam or something. Well, actually, I don't know which is bigger, to be honest. I'm just guessing that one would be bigger than the other. So right there, it just has this bulge to it. That looks pretty good. What if I flip it? It won't flip. That'll be good, though. I think it'll work. Just an extra bulge to the hood to make it go faster. And if I really wanted to be crazy, I could put another one. You know, it's like, all right, put another bulge, and then something like this. You know. Oh, does it actually work? Oh wait, it's like two colors though. How does that? There you go. That's all right. Looks like a purpose-built hood. Like my favorite hood in a car ever is those old Mitsubishi Eclipse or DSMs in general, where they have a hood that's non-symmetrical and it's just like, this hood is perfectly made to fit this specific engine. That is awesome. Alright, so now I gotta get exhaust. Just throw some dual pipes right there. Probably wouldn't be normal, but let's say that's a modernizing thing. They're trying to make this car look more modern, although I don't think that was really something that was usually happening. Exhaust through the back like that, but who cares? I mean, we don't have much options, so that's it. And that means we're gonna put dual exhaust on the engine because we have dual exhaust there. And then we can say, I want a lip on the back, and that'll look dumb. Lip on the front probably looks okay. Lip on the back, I don't know. Let's see. Well, it actually doesn't look that bad. I might leave this one. So again, engineers saying, look, we could put this lip here and make a better car. And like, whatever, man. We're trying to make this car go out with a bang and have something that's fast and great. So there you go. Color. It only comes in bright yellow because it's so special. Like that yellow, yeah. Really, really bright yellow. That's perfect. And it has to be rear-wheel drive, of course. And now we can go ahead and make the engine. So it's got to be a V8. No ifs, ands, or buts. This is a V8 muscle car. It's a dying breed, man, in this time period. It's nice that they're coming back. So for bore, we're going to go huge. Like, how about get a 110 millimeters on the bore and then 100 on the stroke, which will give us like a 7.5 liter engine, I think. 7.6. So that's great. And now, what we're doing basically is we're taking the engine that we were using before all the changes and stuff, which was a pushrod engine, and we're pushing technology, and we're putting a direct acting overhead cam on this. So which is taller? Pushrod or direct acting overhead cam? Looks like the direct acting overhead cam is bigger. So the excuse goes, the pushrod barely fit in the previous engine bay, so we made a bigger hood to fit the dual acting overhead cam on it. I like that idea. I mean, I could also go overhead cam, I guess, if necessary, but we'll see how tuning the engine goes. And then again, material is just cast iron. There's so much metal in this, it'd be too expensive to use aluminum. Alright, so crank, 99% of the time you can get away with a cast iron for a production vehicle. Con rods, I'm thinking we might need steel here. I'll check later if weaker ones will work, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of torque and a pretty decent amount of RPMs for how big this engine is, so we'll probably need that. Pistons, same deal. We need something strong, so we'll go forged. And then we're on to the next one. So for compression, it's going to have to be dropped, I'm thinking like a lot. So I'm going to say, let's drop it all the way down to 7. I'll be able to bring it up later, but for now, 7 is the starting point. Cam profile, I'm going to leave it at that for now. I'll come back and change it later. And all of this I can't touch. I could change the color, actually. So I could say, you know what, the car is yellow. So we need a yellow engine. Everything about this is yellow. There's only 2 shapes we could choose from, actually. So which one do we like? I like that one. Just looks a little more modern for the time period. All right, naturally aspirated. And it's going to have a carburetor. And we're going to start off with a 4-barrel twin carb, and we'll bring it down until we see some negative performance happenings, and then we'll raise it back up as necessary. Intake, we're going to go with a performance intake because this is a performance vehicle. Fuel type, well, I wish it could use super leaded, but that is basically being outlawed. So we have to use regular fuel. And for the fuel mixture, I'm going to just raise it up a little bit to make sure the engine is able to run the first time through without knocking. Ignition timing, I won't touch yet. RPM limit, I should probably drop that down. I'm going to try about 5,000 on it. I think that might still be a little too high because this engine is so massive, but it's at least a starting point. For the headers, I'm going to go ahead and say short cast because, yeah, that gives me 528 max power. Honestly, even though this is a 7.6 liter engine, I doubt it'll make more than like maybe a little bit more than 300 horsepower because of the way everything is at this time period. So like right here, if I did this for the exhaust diameter, that's probably wide enough. You know, 362, I'd be happy to hit that. Cast log, though, if we go back to the headers, it limits it at 249. I want at least 300 horsepower, so short cast has to do it. And we do have a catalytic converter. That's all the new emission requirements and all that from the government. We got to have those on. And for the mufflers, you know, this is a muscle car. It's going to be loud and proud, but it's not going to be blow your eardrums off loud. So we'll throw double baffled mufflers on it, and that should be good. And let's see if it runs. My main concern is just valve float, to be honest. I'm worried about a valve float on an engine this big with RPMs up to 5,000 on a direct acting. Little bit of valve float at the end, it looked like, because I just saw a real steep drop off from power. Yeah, just a little bit. So if I wanted to fix that, I could probably say overhead cam with a 4 valve setup. That might fix it. No, it doesn't actually fix it. I thought that would be a little bit more efficient for valve flow, but I guess not. So we'll stick to a direct acting overhead cam like I originally intended, and I'll just go to the valves and or the cam profile or all this. But somehow it increases the valve those abilities to not float, I guess you could say, is the easiest way. So I'm just gonna keep clicking this until it goes and says you don't have valve float anymore. Congratulations. So +5. There we go. Alright, so right now our octane rating is 78.8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, go to the fuel. I'm going to drop that back down to 13.5 because we got to get some fuel economy out of this. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to make this just stupid car that's totally inefficient, but we can't. In fact, I might even just say drop it to 14.6, which is right about the perfect stoichiometric ratio. I think the actual correct one is 14.7. So that extra 0.1 is for the muscle carness. That's the excuse I'm going with. And then we can go ahead, raise the compression ratio until we have knocking, because that's just getting us power until something goes bad. So there's knocking, so we could drop it down. So we have an 8.0 on that. And then we could go over to the ignition timing. I mean, that's probably going to be fine, but we could try increasing it little by little. And now it's knocking again, so bring it back down. You could try a single carb, see what that does, and then we have knocking. But there's a huge savings if I was able to bring a 4-barrel single carb into this. So right now, let's do a comparison. 320 horsepower. If we were to drop down to a single carb and reduce the compression ratio some, how much horsepower would it make? Looks like we could pull it up to 306. So for 14 horsepower, we save almost $400. Well, actually more than that, because the production units went down as well. And then the emissions went down, and the fuel octane rating. Well, actually, those are direct comparisons. The only thing is the economy is worse. Can't have everything. What about a 2-barrel triple carb? Oh, that's more than a 4-barrel twin carb. Never mind. Stick to the 4-barrel single carb. So that'll be good, I guess. It's good enough. What else can we do to this thing? I think that might be pretty much set. I don't really have anything else I want to do to this engine. Just a quick kind of thrown together thing. Oh yeah. Any difference here? A little bit. Let me reset the stats. Okay. So the only thing you do is you get it a little cheaper. I mean more. It's more expensive and then stuff. So I want it to be cheap, so we're going cast iron. Conrods, forged H-beam. Let me get these up. So yeah, those are failing now. Those are failing worse. Those are also failing. So if we want reliability, we definitely need I-beam steel. For the pistons, it's same story. We need to have forged. Compression, if we try to increase it, it'll just say no. Although, you know, I don't know if I like this. The starting torque is a little lower than I want. So let's say you drop the cam profile by 10 so we get some more torque on the down low. And then now we're knocking, so we have to just drop the compression ratio a bit. And ooh, you know, that really dropped off the horsepower. Scratch that idea. That's a huge drop. Because I want 300 horsepower at least. And this is just a real quick and dirty engine that gets me what I want. Can we increase the RPM limit at all? No. Ignition timing at all? No. If I really wanted to be stoichiomic, I could just say get the perfect ratio, and then we have very efficient engine. So we could do right there. That's pretty much hitting the limits of the fuel. Anything more and the engine will knock. And I could add more fuel, but there goes some of the fuel economy we have, because it's such a big engine. It's not that fuel economic no matter what you do. It's like that is a huge number for economy, which is bad. So it's like, what can you do? Not much. And if I dropped it to cast log, no, definitely killing the engine's power. If I brought it up to tubular, we could probably squeeze out you a teeny bit more, but not worth the money. So exhaust, let's see if we mess with that. Ooh, a little bit bigger exhaust definitely increases the performance of the car. That's nice. Gets us a few extra horsepower, so we'll do that. And the catalytic converter has to stay on. What if we said reverse flow? Does it change much? Not really, so we'll keep it like that. What if we actually had one reverse flow versus a baffled? So I'm going to go ahead and say compare those two, double baffled versus reverse flow. Reverse flow is better double baffled is better in every way, so we'll go with that one. And now we have made our engine, our muscle car engine in 1975, which again is a terrible time to be making a muscle car engine. It's kind of a weird engine too, because generally you don't really think of like you don't think muscle car in 1975. It's just that's when they died temporarily, you know. And here my company is like, we're gonna make a muscle car again because we're crazy. So there we go. Kind of wish you could pop the hood so you can see the engine sometimes. Like just to see how the yellow matches up. Oh, that's a perfect match though. It is a yellow engine. Alright. Gearbox, they're going to do a manual single clutch 4-speed. It's just about normal, you know. Top speed, let's say 130. Because it's about matching the estimated one. Spacing, I will modify later. Because right now I don't know exactly what spacing would be best. And then for the differential, when I think muscle car, I'm thinking, you know, that has a limited slip, because like in going through what I think, like when limited slips became more prominent or predominant was when muscle cars are coming out and you needed a way to put the power down. And then you needed those limited slip differentials to be able to do that. So I'm putting a limited slip differential into it. You could put the other one, sure, but it's not the same. Alright, for the tires, we're going to go sport compound. And then for the diameter, we're going to make them pretty big. Like, start with 665. And let's see how wide can we make them. I'm hoping to get like 235s front and back. And I can't quite do that, unfortunately, because I didn't extend this front fender enough. So it's going to have a staggered setup right now, but really, if I was making this as a proper vehicle, I would go back and extend this front wheel well out a little bit more so I could fit slightly wider tires. So let's just pretend it's not a staggered setup, which means the wheels are different front and back if you don't know that. So right now we have 235 in the rear and then 215 in the front. Yeah, that's painful to say. And we could reduce the diameter until it reduces the millimeters here, so boom, and yeah. It's unfortunate that there's no way to just go back real quick and say, you know what, let me make these a little bit wider. But you can't do that. If you try to, it's like, oh my goodness, you can? I thought you couldn't do that. What? That must be the update. Thank you, update. I know there was an update, but I haven't actually had a chance to look at it. The one thing I do know, though, is that there's V6 engines. And if you're watching this right now, I don't know what to use the V6 engine in. I definitely want to use it, but I'm not sure what to use it in yet. So I need some suggestions. Like, I'm thinking, what is the most practical use of a V8 engine? And my mind says, like, something kind of bland, like a Honda Accord or a Honda Civic or a Toyota Camry or, you know, just a boring car like that. That's to me like the most practical use of a V6 engine usually. I don't know what I did over here to the hood to make it discolored. That was a mistake. For the tire or for the rim material, steel, and for the actual wheel, we're gonna go. I'm gonna go with these. These kind of match the car design to me, like for the time period and all that, in my mind at least. All right, so for the brakes, we have drum or solid disc. I'm gonna do solid disc in the front and then drum in the rear. I'm gonna do one piston and we'll see if increasing the piston improves it. We'll have the pad type to be 60, big disc brakes though, and then drum in the back, pad type 60 again, just, you know, a little bit sportier. Sorry, I kind of spat on my microphone there. That was bad. And again, really big drums. Under tray, you know, I can't really think of what this would be best with. So let's say, you know, the engineers, man, they're like, we could do a fully plied under tray to increase the efficiency of the driving and the driving dynamics, and so that's why it has that. Cooling, airflow, how much do we need for this engine? Even though it's a giant engine, it only needs 153 kilojoules, which is pretty good. Since we have drum brakes, though, we definitely want to have some cooling for those, so I'll say 213 total. That should be good. Seats, it's a 4-seater. 5 would kind of be cramped, I would think, because you have the drive line going through the back, so you'd have like a really awkward and ugly middle seat. Interior, I'm gonna say basic. Well, this is the final version of the car, actually. You know, they did cut corners here and there, but one of the places where people will notice the difference on day-to-day things is probably like the interior. They notice it has a very fancy sport interior, so they spent the extra money on that. But the entertainment stuff is still the same standard ones that are in the base model of the car. Actually, well, you could say they took the 8-track from a newer model that they have, and it's going to be the same 8-track in the one that replaces this car. I like that idea. But normally, this car only had an AM radio, so this is a special one because it has the 8-track. Because everything else about this car was super dated, because it's just an old car model from the manufacturer. And of course, it gets power steering and anti-lock brakes. That's just, again, one of the extra fancy features. Safety, though, is lacking. Because the body style for this car was originally from 1968, I think 7 years old, right? And that kind of matches that. To me, it's like real late 60s look. So the safety is bad because it's old body style. For springs, I'm just going to say progressive. Just because it gives you a little bit more. Oh, standard gives you more sportiness. Oh, that was unexpected. I thought progressive was more sporty. Okay, standard springs it is. This is a sporty vehicle. And then dampers. You know, it's so cheap just to get the gas mono, which are just a direct improvement over the twin tube. I say, why not? For the last hurrah of the muscle car. Can you actually see anything for when you switch the dampers? Not there. Just curious, because sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't. Nah, nothing changes visually. Alright, so we'll do that. Sway bars, not much choice. Preset, we'll just go sport. That should be good enough. Maybe reduce the ride height just a little bit. So like right there. And there is the last muscle car from the car manufacturer that I am. So the stats say drivability is low, sportiness kind of low, comfort surprisingly high, prestige surprisingly high, safety really surprisingly high considering I use 60 standard safety, and then weight pretty reasonable. That's actually a pretty good weight for a muscle car. Reliability nice and solid, utility pretty solid, economy to be expected. Total cost, that is ridiculously expensive. I'm gonna just guess that this doesn't have some sort of calculation for inflation or something like that, because this car costs more to make than most muscle cars would sell for. Like even the really fancy ones like the Superbird, and you know, I use that car as an example a lot because it's my favorite muscle car, but that one I don't think it was originally for like $10,000, which is what this thing would have to sell to make a profit. Yeah, it came a few years earlier, but still. That seems ridiculously expensive because then you also have production units, which basically means man hours. So that means the price of this thing would have to be like $12,000 to make a profit, which sounds absurd. So I'm just going to assume it doesn't have any sort of inflation calculations to make it make sense to me and make myself feel sane. And real quickly, I just want to get rid of that brown area or gray area or whatever. So just for laughs, going around the airfield test track, which is a Top Gear test track really, it gets it done in a miserably slow 1 minute and 38 seconds, which well, actually, it's a little bit better than I expected, to be honest. I was thinking it'd be probably close to 2 minutes. So with a time like that, I think it's like as fast as maybe like an old Impreza. I mean, it's not that fast. Muscle cars, you know, they were fast for their time, but modern cars are just so fast nowadays. I mean, you can get so much power out of so light of an engine and stuff. It's crazy. So yeah, I think that's how that'll go. I should look it up. Here, hold on. While this is racing, let me look up the Top Gear lap times to make sure what I'm saying is correct. Alright, so got the page up, and just for comparison's sake, a Fiat 500 Abarth. You know, a Fiat 500. You know, it's a fancy version, of course. It's the Abarth. That gets it done in 1 minute and 35 seconds, 0.5. And also, tire technology does play a huge part in that. I mean, you have much better tires in the 2000s versus 1975. But it's actually pulling a lot of G's through the corners. Like, it's almost pulling a whole G through the corner. That's a little bit better than I expected. I expected it to maybe do like 8, 9 maybe. But right there, just pulled a 1.1 G through that corner. That is impressive. That's a pretty good car. So, I could probably, you know, tweak things over here, try to get a little more 0 to 62 time out of this and stuff, but I don't know how much I'll be able to get, really. Like, it's a 6.8 second 0 to 60 time, which is pretty miserable, to be honest. Like, that sucks, but I don't know if there's really much I can do to improve it. I could probably put a 5-speed in, but ooh, that makes it worse. What about 3-speed? Worse. Manual 4-speed is best, and then if you do automatic, yeah, it's even worse. Good for miles per gallon, worse for speed. And yeah, that will be the last muscle car from my car manufacturer, of course, I mean. Until 30 years from now, when muscle cars are getting a nice revival and we can make a new one. It's disappointing, though. The last muscle car, it reads 313 horsepower. Like, it is so miserably slow like that. We could throw a push rod on this and probably just say maybe a little bit smaller even. Throw a push rod on it and just run a leaded fuel and it'd have more power. It's sad. But there's nothing you can do about that. That's just technology, man. So that's the last hurrah of the muscle car. Again, I said that too many times. For the next video for this game, I'm probably going to do something with the V6 engine, like I said. So again, I'm looking for some suggestions on what you'd like to see the V6 engine in, because it's a new addition to the game and I want to play around with it. And it sounds fun to do so, but I haven't really decided what to use it in, like I said. So that'll do it. And until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll V6 you and see what that does, and I'll see you. Ooh, 236 horsepower. That's terrible. All right. I'll see it.